Good morning, class 12s. Much of the, not much, about like 20-30% of the chapters of your second book has been deleted. So, today we are going to start with change and development in rural India. So, this chapter will basically deal with the villages, okay, the rural sector of India. So, let's begin. Despite of growing urbanization, India is still is primarily a rural society. So there has been an increasing urbanization. The process of urbanization has been rapidly increasing in India, and despite of all that, all the new cities and towns that has been coming up, India still remains a rural society where agriculture is the like 70% of Indian economy. They depend upon agriculture. Agriculture is the main source of livelihood and a way of life. So agriculture, it is not just an occupation. Earlier India was it was like full-fledged agricultural country. So agriculture, it's not just life, it's not just occupation, it's a way of life, it's the culture of the people. Along with agriculture, there are potters, carpenters, weavers, ironsmith and goldsmith are found in the rural areas. So other than the occupation of agriculture, there are such occupations that exist in rural India. So the diversity of rural occupation is visible in the caste system. Like, you know how in the caste system, the different caste groups, they perform different occupation. Like the Brahmins are engaged in all these priestly activities and in teaching, whereas the shudras are asked to do things such as like menial jobs for the upper caste. So they have to serve the upper caste, and they have to do all the work that the upper caste will not indulge in. Okay, so because of that, there is diversity in the occupation of each caste group. With the growth of urbanization has led to variety of occupation. So with the coming of urbanization, it is not just these agriculture or weaving, pottery, carpenters, ironsmith, it's not just that, but there is a large variety of occupation that has come about with the process of modernization and urbanization. People from rural areas migrate to urban areas in search of employment. In order to get employment, and we have seen also in like all these news channels, they show how the migrant laborers, they come from distant villages to work in the cities in search of employment. Because of that, there is a variety of job opportunities and diversity of occupations. Agrarian structure, caste and class in rural India. So agrarian structure, what is that? It refers to the structure or distribution of ownership of land or land holding. So agricultural structure, agrarian structure is basically it is determined by how the land holding, okay, how different groups or the structure in which the groups hold their land is, we can say that is agrarian structure. The degree to which individuals own hold land determines and shapes the rural class structure. So the class structure, okay, of the rural area is determined on the basis of like who owns how much land, okay, and who owns the most land, who owns the least land. So that is how the rural class structure is shaped. Access to land plays an important role in the process of agricultural production. The access to land, how much land is, how much land can you own or how much land can you work on, it determines it plays a very important role in agricultural production. So the agricultural production that takes place, it depends upon the access to the land holding. People owning large and medium amount of land earn sufficient or even huge amount from cultivation. So the people who own large amount of land, okay, they earn a very good amount of money from cultivation that takes place in that particular land. The laborers earn very low wages, their employment is not secure, and they are daily wage workers. So daily wage worker basically means you work today, you get the money for the number of hours you work on that day itself, and then they earn very low wages, okay. Their like income is very low, the amount of money that they are paid is very low, and their employment is also not secure. They do not have a secure formal employment. Anytime they can be thrown out, or anytime anything can happen, and their employment is not secure. So as a result, their livelihood will also not be secure. Tenants also do not earn much as they have to pay land rent to the landowners. So tenants means basically if I'm the landowner and you rent out a certain portion of my land, okay? So that means you are the tenant and you have to pay a large amount of money for rent for taking my land and using it, and I will be getting money because you you are like using my land, like how people stay in rent, right? They stay in the house of the landlord and they have to pay certain amount of cash, so that is tenants. And here even in agricultural production there is tenants who like who cultivate the land of the landowners. They rent it out and they have to pay a large amount of money to the landowners, and these tenants also do not earn much money because they have to pay it back to the, like they have to pay the rent to the landlords, so which amounts to like 50 to 70% of their produce. In rural areas there is a complex relationship between caste and class. So caste and class relationship is very complex, it is not well defined. It is partially true that the upper caste has more land and more income, where however in most areas the Brahmins aren't landowners. So as you know, the Brahmins are the topmost caste in the structure of social stratification, and it is technically, like practically, it is believed that like upper caste people will have more land, but then in many areas and in most of the places the Brahmins did not own any land. The Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas were more of the landowners. Dominant caste were the major land owning and numerically high caste. Like we have read about dominant caste and how Srinivas has defined it as they are those castes which are numerically high. They have more population and they have more land holdings. So dominant caste, they had more land and they were numerically higher in population. The dominant caste are usually the middle or high ranked caste, and the landless farmers belong to lower caste groups. So the dominant caste were basically Vaishyas, Shudras, okay, sorry, Vaishyas and the Kshatriyas, okay, middle and the high ranked class, and in some areas even the Brahmins owned land, okay. And then the landless farmers, the farmers who worked for these people, who worked in the land of these people, who did all the labor, were they belong to the lower caste. In many regions of India, the Dalits were not allowed to own land, and they were the ones who worked as laborers in the farms. So the Dalits, the untouchables, the caste group which were kept outside the structure of social stratification or the caste system, were not allowed to own land, and they were the ones who gave labor, okay, who used their physical labor for the process of agricultural production in the land of the dominant caste. The upper and the middle caste had high access to land and also had more power. So yeah, the middle class, the upper caste, the high caste people, they had more land, they owned more land, and eventually they had more power as they were rich and also numerically stronger. The proprietary caste owns most of the resources and commands labor. So the proprietary caste, they they have they own most of the resources like land, capital, and even the labor. Practice of free labor was prevalent in India, where the low caste group members had to provide free labor to the landlords for a particular period of time. Like I think you all know what slavery is, where like the slave was kept by the owners and they had to do all the work, and there was family slave also. Like suppose the slave's father worked in that particular house and even the son works in that house, so it goes on, okay. So this free labor is free labor is where like no, bonded labor is what I'm talking about, okay, regarding the slavery thing, which I'll come back to after this. So free labor was practiced where the lower caste people had to work in the farms of the upper caste or the land owning class on the dominant class without being paid, okay, for a certain amount of time. Due to the dependence of laborers on the landowners, the practice of bonded labor, hereditary labor, prevailed. So, since the lower caste group, the laborers did not have any property, did not own any land, so they required and they had to depend upon the upper caste people, the dominant caste, and the land owning castes to for their sustenance. Okay, as a result, it resulted in bonded labor or hereditary labor, where the laborers might have taken a certain amount of money. They must have taken out loan from the upper caste people, and because of the failure to pay the loan, they had to work as slave. And slowly, like how I said, and the father works as slave, and then he has his kids. And then, since at the time of the father also, the debt cannot be cleared, the son has to work as slave. So in order to clear the debt, they work as bonded labors. Okay, so I hope you're clear with this.